your Essence Magazine entertainment editor. Now, for
Yes.
people who don't know, tell us what someone does in that role. Like, what does that role entail?
I deal with a lot of publicists.
Oh,
I have,
I'm sure
and
that's
I'm sure you have a publicist.
I have. It's they're tricky.
Well, I wouldn't say they're tricky, but I deal with managing a lot of people's expectations, a lot of requests, and also I make a lot of asks. So I have to figure out what's the best way to ask for something.
Mm-hmm.
So my communication skills have to be like up here,
Mm-hmm.
because I have to figure out what's best for Essence, what's best for Black women. And then, I have to take in consideration, let's say if the publicist tells me, well, my client doesn't really want to talk about that, or we want to go in a different direction. So it's a bit of a juggling act sometime to
How
get
was that
everything.
when you know that's the story, like that's the part of the story you really want to address, and that's the one thing that the celebrity doesn't want to address?
Well, I have to be honest with them and say, listen, the thing that you're going through is probably what 1,000, 100,000 other Black women are going through.
Mm-hmm.
And if you share your story with us, we will, we have an expression, we say, we'll handle it with kid gloves. But, honestly, what I tell them is that, listen, our history, 50 years, we do not put celebrities on the cover to slander them,
Yeah.
to do an okey doke, to trick them into telling us something. We will care for your story, and if you're uncomfortable with certain, we'll work with you to get comfortable. But the bigger thing is to tell them that they're honestly going to help someone, and that people can relate to them more. And that's really what it's about. And you'd be surprised when you work through that with a publicist, how open they are. And then also the other thing is, you want to get the right writer in front of that person to ask those questions that are not just come and ask you something right off the back, like, whatever, why'd you do this? You have to have someone who has a lot of bit more finesse. And then it's the way the story is just reported. We've had, in my 20 years, no celebrity has ever came back and said we were misquoted or you took this out of context or anything like that, because we
Wow.
want to make sure we're telling the truth.
20 years and not one disgruntled celebrity. That is like, that's
I
pretty.
mean, you may have someone who's maybe disgruntled over a picture you chose, but not the story, because we take too much pride in it. Too much pride. I mean, you may have errors like, okay, you spelled this name wrong, or something like that. But as far as context, no.
But Essence is not a salacious magazine. There's no gossip
Exactly.
stories ever. It's always like feel good or inspirational.
Exactly. And that's what we are. I remember a celebrity telling us, we're not people. I mean, I'm sorry, not a celebrity, a publicist saying, and we're not. I mean, and I love People Magazine for what it is, but that is not what we are. I mean, we
Yeah.
really want people to come and want to tell their stories to us.
So you also got to work under Susan L. Taylor, who was the editor-in-chief at that time. What did you learn from her?
I mean, it's interesting because I didn't work with her that long,
Okay.
but when she was there, one thing I took from her is she said, she always reminded us that Black women are in crisis and that we need to be careful when we talk to them. We need to treat them with the utmost respect, and we need to be our authentic selves. And there was another thing that happened. We have these big features meeting, and she would say, if we were like stumbling around a story, or something wasn't quite gelling, she was like, listen, whatever it is on your heart that you're dealing with in your personal life, it's something that someone else is probably dealing with. And when someone would probably like raise their hand and say, well, actually I'm going through a divorce, or I just had a miscarriage, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
that's when the floodgates would open up. And then that's when something would turn into a story, and it would be the story that really resonated the most with the reader. I remember this one time we were having that big meeting, and someone said, I'm tired of being sanctified and suffering. And Claudia, when I tell you, the whole room fell out. I was like, what? Like we all could touch on that. We all could relate to that moment. And it ended up being a huge story for us.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's so necessary to have you. It really is. And so something you just said about what Susan said was Black women are in crisis. What do you think is our crisis now, the biggest crisis that Black
Oh,
women are facing as a whole? I know it's a really broad question, but you know, everyone's talking about Black women, right? The Black vote and
yeah.
the pay disparity, but plus, combine that with, we're also the most educated now. It's such a mixed thing to be. It's such a, I don't know, a contradiction, like we have all these accolades, we're working so hard, but then we're still here.
No, and the only reason I threw my head back is more so for everything that we're going through right now. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. Like I'm thinking about, and that's just in the last 2 months.
Yeah.
I think she meant was we still have to be the pillars of
Yeah.
our community. It's like that T-shirt. A lot of, and I wish I had one. It's like the one that goes, "Black women," says, "F it, I'll do it."
Yeah.
I think that's the part of the crisis that we're in. A lot of it still, a lot of upliftment still falls on us. We were just at, I host our podcast, Yes Girl Podcast, and we were actually wrapping up our interview today by saying that we probably need to develop some sort of series that uplifts Black men right now. And again, that kind of falls on us to do. So so that's just one element. I mean, that's just police brutality, social injustice. But then you have what's going on with this pandemic and
Yeah.
how it grossly affects our community. And it goes back to underlying health issues that, we haven't really gotten a control of. And that goes back to like, we're, underpaid, we're overworked. We're doing too much. We're not taking ourselves to the doctor. I mean, I'll share with you, I got a notice that I'm due for my mammogram from 2 months ago. And I keep thinking, oh, I'm gonna push it off. And then next thing you know, it's going to be a year. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I'm working. But no, I think for Black women, the crisis is sometimes in trying to keep everything together, we lose ourselves a bit. But we need to take that time, as you see now, especially in regards to health in the pandemic, we have to stay healthy, because staying healthy is going to keep us alive, hopefully.
Like Black women are constantly being forced. They don't have the luxury to not be a superwoman, right? So they're putting
No.
their own well-being on the back burner while saving the world's,
Yes.
literally, and
Yes.
being these pillars that you speak of in the community. It's like, when is it going to be the Black woman's time to sit back and be taken care of, and to be, I don't know, just be
It's
able to
not
be
right
human,
now.
and not have to be constantly have the cape on? It's a lot
Yeah.
of stress.